Hey there, everybody. Thank you for joining us on the Saturday Night Hockey Show. It's just me, Dave, tonight. Travis is currently out on a river and was involved in a rescue today. So good on you, Travis. Thank you. Anyway, wow, this Stanley Cup Finals has turned into be a stinker. Not very competitive, and it's kind of turning out how we thought it would. Tampa was the prohibitive favorite, and they really have flexed their muscles through the first three games of this series. Um, I think if Mickey was the coach, Mickey from Rocky was the coach of the Montreal Canadiens, he'd be throwing the towel in right now. Um, yeah, it's ugly. And last night was particularly bad for the Montreal Canadiens. Their first game, Stanley Cup game in Montreal in 28 years. Um, Monday night's game will probably be their last Stanley Cup final game for a while. Um, but this has turned into kind of a worst case scenario. We knew that Tampa was strong. We knew that they were very strong. We, you could say that we thought that the Montreal Canadiens would struggle in this series. I predicted them to lose the series. They are. I didn't think it was going to be a sweep, though. Montreal have been playing very well, but everything is kind of all the wheels have fallen off for them at this point. Um, Nick Suzuki, their top line guy, despite scoring last night, just looks very, very hesitant. Like the moment's gotten way too big for him, and that he's just not the player that we saw in that series against Vegas or Toronto or Winnipeg. There's just something that's happened with Suzuki. Maybe he's injured. I don't know, but he looks very hesitant on the puck. Yeah, he did score last night, like I said, but I just, um, you know, they were talking on the broadcast last night, perhaps breaking up that line with Caulfield. Um, I don't know. I don't know what they need to do because Caulfield also has been fairly silent in this series. He had a couple of really good plays, but just hasn't finished yet for the Montreal Canadiens. And as much as you would hate to rely on a rookie to do your scoring, it's not a recipe for success. Cole Caulfield is a great player. I don't think the moment's going to be too big for him going on to the future. But this is going to be a learning lesson for him. The only concern I have for the Montreal Canadiens is, once they move back to the Eastern Division or Atlantic Division, I'm sorry. Let's take a look at the teams that are in there. You got Boston, you've got Toronto, um, uh, you've got the Florida teams. Both Florida teams will be in their division next season. Um, you know, maybe Ottawa starts picking up. This was a very short window for Montreal, and a surprising window for Montreal. I do expect them to take a step back next season, perhaps not even make the playoffs. Um, Caulfield is going to go through some learning pains, and this is one of them. It's hard to have this level of success early on in your career, make it to the almost to the summit, and then see it get crushed. I mean, it could be like a Dan Marino type experience. Have a phenomenal rookie season and barely scratch the promised land for the rest of your career. Um, you know, the other thing is Carey Price has just not looked good at all, especially last night. Last night's game was awful for the Montreal Canadiens. Yeah, they had a little bit of fight back. They went down early 2-0. They did score a late power play goal to tighten the game at the first intermission, but two early goals in the second period. Montreal never really recovered. They did get that late Suzuki goal in the second period, but just could not get any closer. The Tampa Bay Lightning scored a couple goals late, and including an empty netter to erase a Corey Perry goal late in the game, and so it was a 6-3 final, but it never really felt that close. despite being in Montreal. Um, one problem I have about the whole Montreal situation is that the Canadian Health Ministry or the Quebec Health Ministry refused to allow any more fans over the 3,500 that they had in there. Now, looking at the television screen, they at least spaced them out well. It looked like they had more than 3,500 fans there, but I guess they stuck to it. But here's the thing that I just don't understand. I hesitate to get too deep into politics on this one, but outside the arena, there were 25,000 people standing shoulder to shoulder. When Montreal scored their first goal, they showed them hugging each other, jumping up and down, all over each other, screaming, yelling, all the stuff that could go on inside of an arena as well. And stuff that they say that even if you're outside, it could lead to an outbreak. It just doesn't make sense that you're okay with 25,000 people being conglomerated together very close to the arena, but not inside the arena. It just doesn't make sense to me. I think it would have been reasonable to allow the arena to go up to 20 or to 10,000 as the Montreal Canadiens had requested. Situation in Quebec has been a lot better over the last few weeks. Um, I don't see the reason why that the government was not okay with them being in the building, but okay with them being much closer and yelling and jumping all over each other outside. So, um, but one final thought for the Stanley Cup Finals is that for all the success that Montreal had against Vegas and Marc-Andre Fleury, and they never have not gotten into Vasilevsky's kitchen this playoff this series. He looks like he's 18 feet tall and 300 feet wide, and there's nowhere to score on this guy. And I think they can get in his head. They just right now it's too late. There's only been one Stanley Cup final where the team that has trailed 3-0 has come all the way back. That was in the 40s. It was Toronto versus Detroit. Toronto made it all the way back and won the titles. For the longest time, it was like one of the only teams to ever come back from a 3-0 deficit in a best of 7 series. And I just don't see it. There's no way back at this point. It feels like we got gypped. I mean, when you look at um, the conference finals and that series with the Islanders, almost feels like that was more of a Stanley Cup final than what we're seeing right now. If Tampa wins Monday night, I think it's the second time that a team has won on Montreal Forum ice. Well, it's the Bell Center or whatever they call it. So on Montreal home ice. So it'll, but it also will be the first sweep since 1998. So in I guess the ultra modern era, and I kind of count that from the time that the Rangers won the cup and on when we started going into that clutch and grab lockdown game that prevailed in the 90s and then on through the lockouts and all that. That's kind of the area that I'm talking about. There's only been like 2 sweeps, and that was New Jersey over Detroit and the Detroit Red Wings over the Capitals in '98. So that was the last time we've seen a sweep in a Stanley Cup Finals, and that does speak to a lot to the parity of the league. Even in Stanley Cup Final years where we had kind of a very heavy favorite team like say when the Devils were playing the Anaheim Ducks, or Carolina versus Detroit in 2002 or 2003. Those were very competitive series, even though there was a prohibitive favorite, and the favorite did end up winning those series. It was much more competitive than originally thought. Um, you know, this one just has not, and it's kind of sad. I think it's really hurting the viewership, and I think that this is kind of a bad way for us to go out on NBC Sports for their coverage of NHL hockey. Now, speaking of coverage, we talked about this last week with the new deals switching over to ESPN and TNT or Turner Broadcasting. Um, the first broadcasts that will involve the new contract have been announced. The National Hockey League announced that the draft is going to be on July 23rd. Um, and that is going to be on ESPN too. And it'll be hosted live from Seattle. And let me see if I got the times for that one. But anyway, that's the Seattle expansion draft. They're going to announce who they're picking from each team. Every team except for Vegas gets a player chosen from it. I'm sure between now and then you'll see some deals involving the Seattle Kraken. So we'll see what goes on with that. Also, let's see. The NHL draft entry draft is going to be just following that. The next couple days following that. Also going to be on. Those are going to be on ESPN2 for the day one of the draft. And then day two of the draft will be on NHL Network in the United States. But again, ESPN's taking the lead on those, and we'll be showing those through in the U.S. I'm glad it's on ESPN. I'm sad that it's not on the main channel. It's going to be on ESPN2. But if you remember back in the day, ESPN2 was kind of where all the NHL stuff ended up anyway. Very few games ended up on the mothership. So just kind of I guess a sign of things to come with the ESPN contract. Another piece of news this week is that Joel Eriksson Ek signed a contract extension with the Minnesota Wild. This is an interesting play because, he's a 24-year-old centerman. They gave him 8 years at $5.25 million, which is not, a massive number, but $5.25 million per season, so $42 million over the life of the contract. So it'll take him to the age of 32, unless they buy him out before then. But I don't know that I would have invested that much money into a guy. I mean, he was a 24-year-old centerman. He's been in the league for a few years. He had 19 goals, which is not bad on a 56-game season. 30 points, so almost kind of a Cy Young guy that has more goals than assists. He was a plus 16, which is good on the defensive side. But his face-off percentage is woeful. It's 47.1%. You want a good face-off guy to be above 50. So they're definitely not paying him for the face-off aspects of his game. So I don't know that this was a really good contract, but again, this is his free agent season. So good on him for getting the money he can get. It might put Eriksson or put the Minnesota Wild out of some of the sweepstakes for some of the bigger players that say if Jack Eichel is being dealt, they may not be able to pick him up based on his salary, based on the contracts for Suter and Parise that they're still paying for a couple more seasons. So that might count the Wild out of some of the bigger free agent signings once free agency starts. Victor Arvidsson was dealt from the Nashville Predators off to the LA Kings. This is a good move for the Kings. Well, it's a risk reward move. They gave them a second round draft pick this season and a third round pick next season. If Arvidsson can stay healthy, this is a very good move for a young team. He is a good quality competitor, good quality forward to have up in that lineup. Especially as some of these young kids are starting to mature and get into the lineup. His issue has been getting injured the last couple of seasons. That's hampered the Nashville Predators. And the Predators have their own contract issues, which made Arvidsson expendable, especially with his injury issues and, as much money as they've got tied up in a lot of players that they need to make some room as they move forward. Couple of interesting items for Travis and my team. Travis's team, the Arizona Coyotes, have named Andre Tourigny as the head coach of the Arizona Coyotes. Tourigny was the head coach of the Ottawa 67s. And, he is a, very accomplished coach. I'm not too surprised that he got this gig. There's been rumors that he was going to move into the NHL. He's been an assistant in Ottawa and Colorado. His term with the Ottawa 67s has been very successful, and developing top talent players. And he also rounded it out with Hockey Canada, and he's done a lot of good stuff. So it's a good hire for the Arizona Coyotes, but the Arizona Coyotes have a whole lot of issues that they need to deal with this offseason. First off, they're not going to have a first round draft pick because of some of the things that their former GM had done. Um, they only have one pick in the first 3 rounds, so it's going to be hard for them to build through the draft. They also have to deal with Oliver Ekman-Larsson. What are they going to do to, are they going to be able to move him? He's been very adamant about, because he does have a no movement clause on his contract. Um, will he allow them to expose them in the expansion draft and go to Seattle, or will he stick to those 2 teams that he had last year, which was Vancouver and Boston? Can Boston swing a deal? Can Vancouver swing a deal that's amenable to the Coyotes, or will they bring him back for another season? That's of course, he's under contract, so. Um, so Arizona's got some issues to deal with heading into the next season. Their new GM is kind of hamstrung that way. Um, they've got some decent young players. The other thing is what happens with their goaltending situation. Who stays on? Who gets picked up? Will they lose one of their goaltenders to the expansion draft? We're just not sure at this point. And as expected, Don Granato was named head coach of the Buffalo Sabres. They removed the interim tag. Yes, the Buffalo Sabres did play much better under Don Granato than they did under Ralph Kruger, which was not a high bar. But they were able to end the long 18-game losing streak, and they played decent down. They were competitive down the stretch. I think had the team played that way the entire season, there wouldn't have been as many angry people in Buffalo, even if we had still missed the playoffs. There was just no level of compete with Ralph Kruger, and that compete level, that much better, cleaner style of hockey was seen under Don Granato. So my hope is this will continue on into next season, and the team will develop better. Again, there's a lot of questions with Buffalo. What happens with Jack Eichel? Does he get traded? The news this week is that they're coming close to a resolution on his neck injury, how to treat it. Um, uh, the GM Kevin Adams and the agent for Jack Eichel, Kevin Frisch, I believe his name is, spoke for a few hours, and they said that the talks were productive. So, not hopeful that Jack Eichel remains a Sabre. Um, kind of right now, I'm just hoping we don't get too hosed on the deal. Um, they were also talking about Sam Reinhart, who expressed some frustration at the end of the season. I really would love to keep him there. I think he's a good influence in the locker room. And Rasmus Ristolainen, again, I don't want to lose him either. I understand his frustrations, and but I think the style of play that Don Granato let them play at the end of the season last season does lend itself better to Rasmus's game, Rasmus Ristolainen's game, as well as Rasmus Dahlin's game. So we'll see how that goes. Um, the other piece of news that came out of Buffalo is a little more concerning, and it kind of stems from the fact that the organization last year just gutted their entire scouting department, like gone. Everyone handed a pink slip, and then they talked about doing more video scouting. But Owen Power, the presumptive number 1 pick, was on NHL Network the other night, and he said that he's talked to probably a little bit over a dozen teams so far, and one of them was not Buffalo, who holds the first overall pick. That is concerning. Kevin Adams kind of laughed it off and said that they're gonna talk to as many as they can. Um, but it kind of lets me think that they're not going to go with Power as the first overall pick. If they interview Matthew Berniers, who's you know, actually the guy that I would like to see us draft, um, kind of an indication perhaps that Berniers is going to be the draft pick of the Sabres. But either way, I don't. I think either one's going to be fine if we end up with those players. So, um, other than that, oh yeah, the NHL awards. So I was thinking they were going to announce each player or each award during the games like they had the previous round. They went and just dumped them all out on us one night. So um, the winners of the awards. Let me get to that page there. So the last five awards that were awarded were the Hart Memorial Trophy, which went to Connor McDavid, which no surprise there. He was the to me the most valuable player of the league. Um, the Vezina Trophy went to Marc Andre Fleury, which I predicted as well. He had the best season of any goaltender in the league. Vasilevsky's done best of the playoffs, but again, those trophies are voted on prior to the playoffs starting. The Ted Lindsay Award went to Connor McDavid as well as the most outstanding player. Yes, he's the most valuable and the most outstanding player, no doubt about it for me. And of course, the least surprising award was the Calder Memorial Trophy going to Kirill Kaprizov. That was an easy pick. The stunner of all these awards that we've had this year, and I just I still am having problems wrapping my head around it, was the James Norris Memorial Trophy, which is for the best defenseman. To me, Victor Hedman's body of work and his play this season uh, were, that should have given him the Norris Award. Again, playoffs don't count. Still has had a killer playoffs, but his play of this season was head and shoulders above. That consistent level, high level of play. Cale Makar, I thought would have been the logical choice for second, and because he's a great young defenseman, he's up and coming. Maybe next season he does win it, but he did have an injury at one point this season. I think he was in the COVID protocol for a while, so I guess that hurt him. But the winner of the award was Adam Fox from the New York Rangers. The New York Rangers didn't even sniff the playoffs. I mean, they made a nice run, and he did play really well for a Rangers team that did not make the playoffs. But honestly, I don't see how he got the award because yeah, they don't count the playoff you're playing in the playoffs. But to me, I think it's much more important that you get a team into the playoffs um, than what the Rangers did this year. So I completely disagree with the Norris Trophy. I think this is kind of that evidence of East Coast media bias on this award. That he plays in the Big Apple, plays in the massive media market, the biggest American media market for the NHL, and I think that helped him. But I just don't. I'm not sold on Adam Fox as the Norris Award winner. So anyway, that is the week in hockey. Sorry, the show is a little short this evening. We have, it's getting shorter because we don't have much to talk about. It's the Stanley Cup Finals, which has been a dog, to put it mildly. And so this is the final show during the hockey season. I'm full. I mean, I'll be stunned if we're having a game seven. Um, I honestly think this is ending tomorrow night or Monday night for game four. Um, I think Tampa's just running a pro job right now, and they're going to run it down and get it done with. I don't think they want to. I mean, as much fun as it is to win it on your home ice, win it as soon as you can and run out the building and go home and sit my ties on the beach. That's my advice. So anyway, thanks everyone for watching tonight. We will be back next week to wrap up the season and talk about look at our. I'm going to go back in the archives and check out first broadcast and because we made predictions there and we'll see how good at the predictions we were. I can tell you neither one of us predicted Tampa as the Stanley Cup champion, and neither one of us sure as hell predicted Montreal. getting past getting into the final. Although I did talk about Montreal beating Toronto in the first round on a game 7. So I've been kind of pumping that one all year. So, but anyway, thanks everyone for watching us. We will talk to everyone next week, and have a great one.